Welcome to the Sports Buffet, Monday morning edition, 11 a.m. right here on the Four Star Sports Radio Network. We got Anthony Carter and we also got John Sturdivant, as always, in the house. Anthony covers the Arena Football League. That's right, the Arena, the AFL. That's not the American Football League. That's the Arena Football League. But he covers. He's an insider for that league. So we're going to get him on. There's a lot of hot topics when it comes to this league for sure. John, you want to go ahead and get it started?
Yeah, Anthony Carter does a great job of up to date. Matter of fact, he's going 24/7. It seems because I think there's a lot of more topics going around behind the scenes right now regarding arena football that we do not know about, and some people are still questioning about. And Anthony Carter, welcome to the show, and tell our listeners a little bit more about Anthony Carter and what he actually does throughout the community and arena football.
Sure. Well, appreciate you for having me on. Yeah, right now I'm based out of Philly. So I've been covering arena football for about 10 years now. Used to be a reporter and anchor in Oregon before moving back here doing public relations. So that's my day-to-day job. But yeah, I was covering arena football since what's this what year 2014 at first the Philadelphia Soul and eventually expanded to doing arena football. Or excuse me, the entire Arena League, I should say, instead of just the Philadelphia Soul. Yeah, that's what I've been doing now. And when the league started back up in 2024, decided to start back up Arena Insider.
Anthony, when you look at this league, something that just happened recently is uh, Jeff Fisher, well-known name in the football world, involved with the Nashville Cats in their front office, but he was just named the interim commissioner of the Arena Football League. So, what's your thoughts on that move by the league?
Yeah, that move it's an interesting one, right? Because I think there's a lot of layers to it that many people may not know. At least now that the introductory interview is over. Um, well, first, my thoughts. I'll say I think it's a good move. I think it's a smart move for the AFL. I think it's one of those moves. I think they realized after seeing how successful Nashville's been just in their first couple of games or so and seeing how that opening crowd looked, I think they realized like, wow, he really bought Brett. Because Nashville is, as far as arena football is concerned, is already a historic city in the arena football world, but it's also a huge market for sports and music. A lot of people, visitors come there, so I think they like his persona, and then I think they also appreciate that he has ties to the NFL. So essentially, for a lot of these players, it's to play in an arena football league and then to eventually go to the NFL or CFL for most of them. So they think that Jeff Fisher coming in can help them with that, get them on NFL Network. I'm sure Jeff Fisher still has a lot of contacts that are still in the league and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a smart move for the AFL. And as far as how that went down, I think as you saw some of the issues that I'm sure we'll touch on in a little bit happening with the league early on this season, I think a lot of owners, again, after seeing how he did with the Nashville Cats early on, I think a lot of owners started to make that push for Jeff Fisher and essentially backdoored Lee Hutton so they could get Fisher appointed as interim. So that's why G6 Sports came out in a statement that they did. So all in all, I think it was a big move for the AFL, but it's still, I think there's still a lot of questions that still need to be answered in the meantime.
Go ahead, John. I know you have some questions.
Yeah, Anthony. There's a lot of teams folding as of late. I think the latest team that we saw was our good friend Danny Wimpron's old team back in the day, the Louisiana Voodoo. So that's the latest team that I'm aware of, other than the Minnesota team that is folding. What's the really reason behind it? Is it because they don't have the money for like travel? I know a lot of reports came out there for like early on. A lot of people were traveling. They have to buy their one-way ticket or something like that. It's kind of all confusing. So can you tell why a lot of teams are folding?
Well, I think going into the year, I think the idea in getting a lot of these teams were to have that ownership backing. The league will provide the payments, and then the owners will provide those payments. But then, for some reason, which that we may not know, yet a lot of these teams don't have ownership. If you look at the teams that folded, Philadelphia Soul didn't have owners. Georgia Force didn't have owners. Louisiana Voodoo. Aside from the Iowa Rampage, because they did, but that was a whole nother thing. But now you see a lot of these teams, even the Washington Wolfpack, they have owners, but they're talking about they had to scale back their pay because they didn't get that same financial funding from the league. So essentially, what this is going on is what it seems to be going on is that these teams don't have the money to survive. You need money to travel. You need money to pay your players and coaches and medical and stadiums and revenue and TV, all of that. You need money to do that. And I think because they didn't have owners, they were relying on the league to provide that. And I don't think the league, at least looking at from where we are now and from what G6 Sports said, I don't think the league was in a position to fund a lot of these teams. Like I don't think that was the initial idea in fairness to the previous AFL ownership under Lee Hutton and Travell Gaines. So I think that's essentially what happened. I think that's why you've seen a lot of teams fold. I don't think they were ever set up in a position to succeed.
So wow, that's what an answer. With all that being said, and there's a lot to unpack in that. Um, what are some ways that the league can improve? I mean, yes, there's a lot of negative PR on this league, but I think there's also ways that we can positively impact it. Marketing obviously has to be important, but when you look at the markets that these cities are in, what are some things locally that these towns can do to really boost not only the optics of the league, but support for that team?
Well, I think obviously, of course, you need that support from the league and its partners, which is the reason why I think the AFL took the direction that it took because I think they want to restore that, right? So I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is that communication has to be great on all forms. Whether that includes your team, that includes the media, that includes the fans, everybody. You have to have constant communication like during the off season, when the AFL was coming back, I noticed a lot of teams lack communication, like reaching out to them to do a preview. And there was only one team, maybe two teams that were really like good with getting back to me and seemed like they had everything going well. And then there was a few teams where I'm not hearing anything back. They said I may not get approved for media credentials, and I'm like, okay, I've been covering the league for a while. So it was little things like that. So I noticed that. And that's why I was concerned going into the season where I was like, nothing doesn't look right. I didn't think it would get to the level that it did, obviously. But I think you have to start there. Your communication, you have to market your players better, market your coaches better. And I think a lot of, not even just the AFL, I think even the other leagues struggle with that too, marketing their players and showcasing them on a better stage, right? So that means you have to jump outside of social media. I know social media is huge to market, but you got to be in the community. You got to schedule those TV interviews or get them on local broadcast deals. I think all of that, and it could because that's how it was in the past. Before the league folded, that's how it's been. And, there was just a lot of energy towards AFL. I didn't see that same energy before in the AFL like I poured into this current AFL. So I think they just need to revert back to that, and even inquire some of the people that used to work in the old AFL days and ask them what worked for them and what didn't work for them, and kind of go from there and consult.
I need the Memphis Maniacs back. That's what I need. That team. That was such a cool logo and a cool vibe to that team. That was a lot of fun. Um, Anthony Carter joins us, man. John Anthony's man. He's nailing a 70-yard field goal right now. Um, so Anthony, real quick before I let John, because I know John's got a lot of questions.
No, I don't.
When you okay, when you look at the turmoil that has happened around this league,
Hmm.
and I mean, hotels not being paid for, things of that nature. I mean, how does this PR division flip that coverage?
As someone that's been a reporter and then that's also working in the PR space, I think it's simple. You have to be open and honest about it. The AFL should have jumped on that at the beginning when the Philadelphia Soul, when the thing went down with the Philadelphia Soul. And for people who may not know, just a quick backstory, but essentially Philadelphia Soul players, much like you've seen with every other team, their travel, it was mostly one way travel. So there was no round trip travel to their game in Lafayette against the Voodoo. So there was that. A lot of players were kicked out of hotels because the hotel said, "Hey, we would love to keep housing you, but it gets to a point where if we're not getting payment, we have to we have to kick you out essentially." So I think it got to that point with the Philadelphia Soul. And so when I saw that and when I started getting those reports, I noticed the AFL was still posting like everything was fine. Like week one opening, we're so excited for week one. And I'm like, you may already not even have a game for week one. And all these players are saying they aren't getting paid and kicked out of. So I went the route I did with Arena Insider where I said I need to take a pause so I could show people, let people know what's going on. I shouldn't have been an outlet to jump on that before the AFL did. If you're the AFL, you have to be ahead of the story, open with your fans because trust. You lose the fans' trust, you're not going to get um, those ticket sales and the jersey revenue and all of that. So you have to be honest. So I think that's how you can improve in the future. If you see something like this going down, hey, we know this is going down. We got to be honest. We didn't have the money. So I'm paraphrasing, coming up with an answer, but we didn't have the money to cover this. We're sorry that this happened. We're working on it. You have to say something. You have to say something. But to just go quiet and to not say anything, to not address or respond to media inquiries, that's also what led to the owners going in a different direction as well because they haven't heard anything. So transparency is everything. If that answers your question.
Oh, it does 1,000%. And then you brought up a good point. You're in the PR world for a day to day job.
Mhm.
My question is this, and I just don't. So you broke the story before the AFL even sniffed it.
Yep, and had an inside with the team, and it seemed like it was kind of going silent, like they didn't want to make it a big deal. But then also noticing that one of the agents for one of the quarterbacks, I'm sure y'all saw him. His quarterback is actually in the IFL now, but he started posting on Twitter. So once I saw that, I said, okay, this is a big deal. So that's when I reported on it, and I didn't expect it to go blow up the way that it did. But I went a route where I said we're gonna take a pause on showing game highlights because this is something serious and it has to be addressed because it's clear that no one else wants to address it. So I said we got to cover it. I shouldn't have to be the one to cover it, but it is what it is.
So was there any like backlash from the league? Like, hey man, why'd you come out and say this? I mean, or were they like, all right, hey, now Anthony and a few other people are now speaking about it. We got to talk about it.
A mix of everything. I did get some from people within the league where they're like, "Yo, you're like ruining the league or what's going on because the negative blah 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 this." And I think it was more so I didn't take it serious because as I talked to that person more, I think it was more so they're more upset that this is happening. It's not so much that it's getting out; it's that it is happening, and he understood when I talked to him. But then I think there was another one. I think because of me having Stephen Titus talk up and slam the league and slam Commissioner Lee Hutton, former Commissioner Lee Hutton, I think that opened the door for all these other players and coaches to speak out because they saw that and they're like, okay, I feel comfortable in speaking my piece. So there was that, and then I think there was just other. I forget where I was going to add on to that. But I started to see a lot more blogs and reporters pick it up just a little bit. But I think some of the popular arena football blogs, I think they still kind of didn't really address it, at the same level I did, which is fine. I'm not telling them how they do their blogs, but I think as time went on and as you started to see a trend of other teams and other players speaking now, I think people kind of started to shift a little bit more towards that.
Oh, I get it, man. Trust me, we know there's some stories that you're like, do I want to touch it? And then there's some stories that are like, hey, we got to, like, we have no option here. We've got to report on this because it
Yeah.
needs to be reported on.
Yeah, and I was just going to add on that where, at the end of the day, I'm a neutral reporter in all of this. I don't favor one side. I don't, I'm in the middle. I'm just reporting what's going on. And I think in a way it kind of just speaks to the name Arena Insider, giving people inside information. So I thought about that recently. I said, "Oh, we're actually doing something different compared to what everyone else is doing, at least in this arena football space." So I really just kind of expanded on that a little bit more. And yeah, in reality, I'm just telling what's going on. And who knows if we're being honest, if I didn't report on what's going on, this probably would have still been going on and on for weeks and weeks, and it could have been a lot worse. So as a reporter, I'm just doing what I have to do to tell a story, and that's all I'm doing. I didn't want to go this route, because I was much like everybody else wanted to do game recaps and highlights and player profiles, but it just so happened all this happened. So
Well, you're doing a hell of a job, Anthony
I was
Carter.
just about to say the same thing. You're doing a hell of a job.
appreciate it.
Anthony Carter, arena insider. I don't want to say he's league insider. He is arena insider. So Anthony, now it's your chance, man. You get to promote you. How do we follow you? Where do we go to read your articles? I mean, how do we listen to you? All that.
Sure, absolutely. ArenaInsider.com for all the latest articles. We got a new Wolfpack insider for Washington. He wrote a couple of stories up, so you can go check those out. His name's James Madsen, so he's kind of getting into the journalism space, so introducing him to that. Um, so ArenaInsider.com, all social media channels at Arena Insider. Also, my media company, which is the parent company of Arena Insider, the X1 Media. The reason why I'm mentioning that too is because I am working on a docu-series about everything that's going on with the AFL. So I have a lot of interviews that I've done that I haven't pushed out just yet because part of me is still holding out that I can get that sit down with Lee and Diana Hutton if I can. So I'm holding that out just a little bit. So I do got a lot of unreleased interviews. But yeah, that'll all be in the documentary one way or another. And hopefully I'll be able to announce it soon, but I am going to do a special interview. I'm hoping within the next week or next couple of weeks or so. I'm not going to say it yet because I still got to work out everything, but it might happen. I'll just tell you that. But if it does happen, I'll message you and you'll be the first to know. So how about that?
Man, there's nothing better than a little inside information from the inside man. I love it.
Exactly.
Anthony Carter has joined
Yeah,
us today on the Sports Buffet. John, go ahead.
yeah. Anthony, I got one last or two-part question for you, real quick.
Sure.
Like I said, great job as always. Keep up the good work, man. I've been following your stuff ever since it started, so appreciate you coming on again. Um, First part question is you talked about Nashville. I see where they played their game in Clarksville, Tennessee last weekend. So they're traveling, looks like in the Nashville market and playing different games, at different venues and whatnot in the Nashville area. And their attendance has basically skyrocketed over expectations that I basically thought at first thought the ticket prices were kind of a little bit high, whatnot for the Nashville Cats and whatnot because I saw some tickets for like 60 all the way up to $100, for example, depending on where you want to sit and whatnot. But my question is, how's the attendance in other games across the league other than Nashville? Because we know Nashville loves their football. But are the ticket prices usually about the same? Do you know in other cities as well? And how's the attendance going in the other cities as well?
No, I don't think. I think it varies based on the city. So I'll tell you. You said how much the
I think it's
Nashville
anywhere from like 60 to 100 right now, depending on where you want to
60.
sit.
Wow. Yeah, Nashville's hot. I don't know. Well, I know for Philly when they were at the Wells Fargo Center, which is the other thing I didn't get a chance to discuss. Them not being at the Wells Fargo Center is a big deal. I understand Trenton is right over the bridge, but Wells Fargo, it has a purpose of it because you're right by you're in a mix of all the premier Philadelphia sports teams, right?
Right.
So, location's everything, right? So you get a different audience in Wells Fargo Center than you would in Trenton, New Jersey. So, to answer your question, I think just based on how well you connect with the city, a lot of times what I've seen, at least from the Soul in prior years, they'll do a lot of community events like Chicky and Pete's or have an open. One time they had a tryout at the Philadelphia Eagles facility, so that was cool. So inviting people to see that. So yeah, I think just building those community events, outreach, getting on the radio, building those sponsorships, also selling, doing ticket promotions. As far as the audience in a lot of the cities, it's not as strong. I can't pinpoint exactly where, but most of the time I think it was I forget where. I know Albany one time because they had it on a Thursday. You can't really have arena football games on a Thursday.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work out. So you're not going to see a strong audience for that. Saturdays, that's why I think Saturdays are perfect days for the AFL. That's how it's always been. You get better. You're not really in competition with other sports, unless NBA teams use the arena where you have to shift that away during playoffs or things like that. Um, so yeah, I definitely think Albany and Nashville probably have the strongest attendance right now.
Wow.
If I had to look at it, I probably Nashville a little bit more than Albany. So but you said it was Clarksville. I think that's the name of the
Well,
town.
they usually play like the municipal arena, and I
Right.
think like
But
downtown
this
Nashville. But I think they had a game like maybe like a scheduled conflict with the graduation, maybe or
okay,
something similar to that, where they had to move it to Clarksville this past
got
week.
you. But you
So
said
yeah,
downtown Nashville, so that's
yeah,
that's a big deal too. We're talking about attraction. People are already down there, so you go see some arena football. So
yeah. I know
um,
I hate that the Minnesota team folded, like we just brought up like earlier in the show and whatever. But they were like you said, they shared the arena with the Target Center, and right now with the
mhm,
Minnesota Timberwolves advancing to the Western Conference Finals, you might have had a scheduled conflict regarding players coming in and scheduling and hotels even for like
yeah,
celebrities for and whatnot as well. So I hate that team folded because I was definitely looking forward to see how they can do because I know the Minneapolis market right now is pretty big, with the Vikings, the you name it, the T
yeah.
Wolves. So
And speaking of Minneapolis, real quick, Diana's message in both emails, the one that was public and the one that was linked, that was sent to the players, that just goes to show that I hope no one gets discouraged by that email because she's essentially placing blame on the negativity, about that. That's what she says. Negativity around the team and the league is the reason why they folded. And we know that's not true. You have to think past why was there negative attention as well, right? If it wasn't for the fans chiming in and other media and everything chiming in, again, this price still would have been going on. So I hope I say that to say don't want anyone to get discouraged by her comments because she was in the wrong on that one. Regardless of what happened with the team, I can tell you that it was not negative attention. It's the reason why the team folded. So I didn't want to put that out there as a media professional.
appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Man, no doubt. What a great way to end that. Wow. Um,
That's it.
Anthony Carter, I'm telling you, man, you've got some fans in us. 4 Star will be tweeting, or retweeting your stuff for sure. And I'll even go in there and add a little notification so that we know when you post something. That way we can catch it when it comes out. Anthony Carter, Arena League Insider. I mean, John, I'm just going to start calling him Mr. Arena. He seems to know everything that we've asked today. But Anthony Carter joins us, and Anthony, what a great segue, John. It's like Anthony knows what's going on, man. We got an Albany football player coming on next, and that's OB Goodson. So we'll get OB on here in just a few minutes to get his insight from a player perspective. But Anthony Carter, we thank you very much for joining us today, man. You've been a great, man, incredibly insightful 25 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate all that you are doing, and I'll watch that interview coming up next for sure.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Man, John, that was incredible, man. Sitting there, being able to just hear what he had to say, and man, that guy's full of information.
I tell you
He
what,
answered,
yeah,
he answered every question.
he actually nailed it. To be honest with you, because ever since the beginning, like we just talked about, he's been nonstop, 24/7. It seems. Heck, he's even breaking news at like 11 o'clock at night when he doesn't really have to, but he has to because that's part of his job. But like he brought up, the Minneapolis team. When I brought it up to him, I'm like, I hated that Minneapolis team folded because they have a good market, in general, but especially it's been, in years past, the Philadelphia Soul, like he brought up, a team that he's based at, well, a team that was in the league, they had Bon Jovi as one of their owners back then, remember? So Bon Jovi might need to come
They
back and
also
do
had
the team back.
the guy from ESPN.
Yeah.
So,
So
John, we hadn't really had a chance to talk about it, but what's your thoughts on Jeff Fisher? I know we talked to Anthony about it, and God, what a great answer! But what's your thoughts on Jeff Fisher, man? The fish is back.
well, like Anthony brought up, I think it's good for the Arena Football League because you got the NFL background, you got the like we talked about earlier, the NFL Network at first, is supposed to televise some of these games, like on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evenings, like you just compete kind of with the UFL, but that's another topic for another day. But regarding the UFL part of it, but I think Jeff Fisher coming in this league is definitely going to bring some fireworks, and don't be surprised if you see more games, hopefully maybe on TV down the road, and maybe not only on NFL Network. Heck, I won't be surprised if he works something out with Fox down the road as well, is because you get the FS1 channel and you get the FS2 channel, and another thing is I'm kind of surprised is that the CBS College Sport Network hasn't really caught on at all regarding this as well, because CBS College Sports used to televise these games back in the day as well, and you never really know how Jeff Fisher's really going to do with these TV contracts down the road, which I'm hoping that they will televise these games because I enjoyed watching them like 20 years ago, it feels like now, that we used to watch it on TV back in our high school days, pretty much. And like you said, the Memphis team, maybe they'll bring another Memphis team back. You never really know because they were supporting them down in Landers Center, down in South Haven when they were here. So maybe you never know. They could have not like a big Arena Football League team, but I'm talking about how they had I think it was like the minor league system of the Arena Football League back then. But yeah, Jeff Fisher I think has done a great job so far. Hopefully, everybody can go out and support these teams still because the attendance right now, like I looked at them a little bit more in detail a little bit lately, but when you see like 2,000 fans in the seats, you don't see that fan support. That's why I'm kind of wondering how is the average ticket prices across the board, for different cities. And I'll definitely see how that goes down the road.
John, you brought up the UFL.
Yeah.
Do you see some similarities between the arena and the UFL? I mean, I know he brought up the point of, hey, things are a little bit different now. Teams aren't as open. I mean, these are all complaints that we've heard from fans and media, for that matter, on the UFL. So, do you think there's some slight similarities between these two leagues?
Not right now, I don't. I think the Arena Football League is still trying to do a lot more stuff throughout the season, it seems, and just produce that way. And it's going to take time. I hate it, but it's going to take time. But That's all I can really say. I just think, like OB said, telling us in a message off air or whatever, that he's telling us that they're still trying to learn some new rules throughout the league that they haven't tried before. So that's going to be interesting down the next couple of weeks and see how they can actually adjust to different leagues like the UFL.
That's a great point. And I think, is it the Pharaohs? Is that the Memphis team you were thinking of earlier?
Yeah, possibly when they were down in South Haven, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they had some different names. Like I know they were the Pharaohs at one point in time because I know Danton Bartow coached.
Right.
And then I know they were the Maniacs for sure because the Maniacs office was right outside the Liberty Bowl. So I specifically remember those two. And I think that's the only two that I can think of. Or did they have some like conquistador team or some crap? I don't know.
Back in 2001 when they expanded the member AF to two, like I just mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
Called the Memphis Explorers.
Explorers, that's what it was.
Explorers, yeah.
Yeah, but it was like a conquistador looking logo, wasn't it?
To be honest with you, I don't have the logo in front of me. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Down in DeSoto Civic Center, down in South Haven, which is now Landers Center, where they used to play their games. On October 11, 2006, the team announced that they would not return for the 2007 season. So pretty much right after high school, we were, Arena Football League. I mean, they had some decent records. The first year they were 3-13, 5-11, 6-10, 10-6, 13-3, and then 11-5. And they would score some points that would make them exciting. I remember going to like 2 or 3 games in that time frame, but yeah.
Man, yeah. I mean, what I like about the Arena Football League is you got the padded walls. Guys are getting smacked over the wall.
Right.
Speaking of that, John.
It's like an NFL game back in the day, right?
Well, I was about to say, speaking of video games, I mean, we've got the college football game coming back, right? Everybody's excited about that. Yeah. What about the old Arena Football League game, John?
That was fun to play, man. Like, you get to kick it off the net from like 70 yards out and you get 3 points off of it. You had to it was like an NFL blitz game back in the day because you're pretty much blitzing no matter what, and you're going for it like on 4th and 20 from your own the field is like 50 yards. I'm still guessing like it is right now, but yeah, that was a fun video game back in the day where Kurt Warner was on the corner or on the cover, and I remember purchasing when it came out, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this game out. And to be honest with you, I played that game more than I did baseball at the time.
Well, I mean, games like that, fast paced, high scoring, I mean, that's what kids want to play. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there's probably some dads out there that are like, this game sucks. You can't stop anybody. It's all offense. But like things like that. I mean, I think, speaking of marketing, like we talked about with Anthony, I think that would be an easy, simple. I mean, I say easy and simple, but a smart way to get more eyes on your league. Hey, we got a video game. Right. Go, you know what I mean? And then you can do like AEW did with theirs and keep it at like $40 the entire time. And then at the very end, you can drop that sucker down to $10 and everybody and their mom is going to go buy it.
Or 20. Yeah.
Or 20. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, AEW dropped their game at Walmart all the way down to $10.
Oh wow.
And the reason they did that is because they wanted people to go buy it. It's smart. Right. Any parent walking in there and the kid's like, hey mom, can I get this? It's $10. Well, I don't know, little Johnny. You want a video game or do you want a toy that costs the same? Yeah, I'll take the video game. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's just things like that is how companies like AEW and others around the nation get more eyes on their product. They play the video game. Then they want to watch the video game on TV. Or they watch AEW on TV. They want to play the video game. Either way. But that's a way that I think the Arena League, and we'll talk about it more with AB when he comes on here shortly. But that's a way that the Arena League, I believe, can get more eyes on them quickly. And it's a way for people like Anthony and others to have fun playing a video game for what they cover. And, man, the term cover, it doesn't even describe what he does for the Arena Football League. Anthony killed that dude. I mean, I don't want to use that term, but he absolutely knocked that. I mean, like I said, it's off the net. He caught the ball because you can catch the ball off the net in the Arena League. He caught the ball and went 50 yards for a touchdown, untouched. Beautiful interview. Holy crap, that was insightful. And I mean, honestly, dude, I just wait. There's more. you know, I think this league is going to continue to have some positives and have some negatives. And I mean, based on what we talked to with Anthony, he's going to talk about all, right?
Yeah, he's not scared to post nothing.
Well, that's where you got to be.
Right.
So John, we got OB Goodson going to be coming on here shortly. Um, just talk about OB for a minute, man. He's a guy that former Memphis Tiger, always had a huge smile on his face every time you saw him. Was always very welcoming, would be the term I would use. Talked to him a few times, at the games, stadium, stuff like that. And then we really got to talking a couple years back. He's come on the show, what, 2 times now, 3 times, something like that. But he always has fun, man. Like OB's a guy that's always having a good time. And no matter where he's at, I know one thing about him, and that's going to be that he's working his butt off. There's no doubt about it. And it's really cool to see him still being able to continue his dream, even in a new league where he's got to learn new rules, like the Iron Man rule, for example. And he's still playing football. He's still honing in on his craft. He's still getting extra tape on himself for teams out there to see. And that's key. So what are some thoughts on OB?
Yeah, good old OB Goodson, former Memphis Tiger, like you just brought up, man. He's following his dream still. He ain't giving up. His dream, to be honest with you, of course, is everybody's dream to play in the NFL. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised that nobody from the CFL even has brought him up to Canadian Football League, to be honest with you, because I think the Canadian Football League right now would be a good spot for like a OB Goodson, to be honest with you. And I think, heck, our Canadian Football League has talent all across the board, from University of Memphis players. As you know, they got Coxie playing right now. They had different players from the Memphis area to seed right now in the Canadian Football League, and I think OB's doing a great job following his dream. And like you said, he always has a smile on his face, no matter what. Former South Panola High School product. What can you say about OB? Overall, he's a great man, great leader, and on and off the field, he does things the right way.
Yeah, and I mean, OB played in the CFL for a short period of time. He played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I want to say, go ahead.
So bring him back.
I mean, it could very well happen. It could very well happen. Yeah, OB, man, great guy. Like I said, always has a big time smile. And what I enjoy is OB got to Memphis and he realized, hey, I got to slim down. I got to get myself right to play this game. And that's what he did. I mean, think about it, John. Coming out of high school, OB was like, what, 280? Something like that. And then, I mean, by the time he left Memphis, I mean, OB was what, 230? Something like that. Coming out of high school, he weighed 285 pounds and ran a 4.69 40. He had a 33-inch vertical, 405 squat. Memphis has him weighted at 295. You're on mute, buddy. You're on mute, pal.
Yeah, out of college, it seems like he weighed 275 according to an NFL Draft Insider from back then in 2021. So 275.
That's crazy, man. That's a big man moving really fast.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, man. Yeah, OB, great guy. Waiting on him to come on. As soon as he gets in here, we will get his insight on the league, the Arena League from the Albany perspective, which, as Anthony talked about, is one of the more popular teams in the league, them as well as the Nashville Cats. Um, yeah, no, over to Jeff Fisher because I never really talked about it, but over to Jeff Fisher. I mean, I know during the Anthony part, I made a statement that I thought it was a great move. It's big for numerous reasons. I mean, the name alone, there's nobody that I can think of that doesn't know who Jeff Fisher is. And if you don't know who he is, there's a little thing called Google, and you'll be able to quickly figure out who he is. It'll tell you right there on the screen. But I think it's big for. I mean, just like Anthony said, he makes a great liaison between the Arena League and ESPN, the Arena League and the NFL Network. But John, you brought up a point that I hadn't even really thought about.
Mm-hmm.
Where is CBS Sports Network in all this? Because they're begging for coverage. I mean, like I think they cover CUSA. I know they cover like Army, Air Force, all the armed forces teams. And I think they do like the out in like the WAC or something or the Mountain West. But in the spring, I mean, what are they doing? I mean, they're you know what I mean? They're replaying beach volleyball and stuff. So I mean, I think it would be a great idea to pick. I mean, to pick up, and you don't have to pick up every game. You pick up two games a week. That's it. Catch one Saturday afternoon, catch one Saturday night. Boom. Or if you get, I mean, you can feel froggy and do a triple header. I mean, whatever. But that's a simple way to get more eyes on not only your channel, which during football season and basketball season, I give it credit. I mean, it slams probably coverage. It gets good coverage. But during the spring, I mean that's what makes the UFL so intriguing is it's football. And folks love football. Right. And I mean, let's be honest, dude. They'll watch any kind of football. I mean, there's lingerie football leagues out there that people watch. So, I mean, they'll watch anything. But I think it's a great way to just draw more eyes, get more attention on your league in a positive way, which is what but just like Anthony was talking about. You got to be communicative. You got to be open. What better way to be open, John, than telling somebody, hey, on Saturday night, on Saturday afternoon at 4:00, and then at 7:00, whatever, you can watch Arena Football League games in their entirety. Because Lord knows CBS Sports is not going to switch off a game to go to another game. So, but no, I mean, this league really, really intrigues me. It always has. It's very similar to the CFL, the Canadian. I like the Canadian League because like 17 guys can move like 30 yards at full speed and snap the ball. Like, these different leagues, UFL's another one. Alternatives, different than what everybody watches, but yet still the same concept, sport, whatever. It's good. I mean, do I consider the UFL real competition for the NFL? No. Do I consider the Arena Football League real competition for the NFL? No. Do I consider the Canadian Football League real competition for the NFL? More than the other two. But nobody's going to touch the NFL. We should know this, right?
Mhm.
I mean, nobody's going to touch it. It's the NFL. But the UFL, the Arena Football League, and the CFL, they can be unique enough in their own ways. And trust me, there's fans that watch every single one of these leagues. The UFL showed that a few weeks ago, and they had over 1 million watchers. The Canadian Football League shows that every year when people like me watch it. But the Arena Football League at one time was popular. It's got to get back that way, but it can't do that by teams like Philadelphia, the New Orleans Voodoo, Minnesota. I mean, that's 3 teams right there. You're not going to be successful when you're doing that. So I think the Arena Football League has a lot of work to do. Anthony touched on it as well. But at the same time, I mean, there's still guys continuing their dreams. So it's kind of a thin line to walk, you know? Do you close up shop and then you got to turn around and talk to X amount of guys who are doing this for a living? Or do you let them continue to pursue their dreams and then fix your internal issues?
Yeah, especially like you said, the CBS College Sports Network right now is just showing cornhole, for example, right now on TV. I know it's a Monday morning and whatnot, but still, what's wrong with just having 2 announcers do the game from their house, like the ESPN people do sometimes, do it from their house during college football games?
Sometimes they do it all the time.
Right, but I'm talking about in general though, because you would think that CBS would probably say, "Heck, what is Tony Romo doing these days other than playing golf right now?" That type of stuff. But yeah, to have 2 guys from your do it from their house, do the game from their house, and watch the game on TV and do it from their house or whatever, and see how that goes. Because right now there's no streaming option really on these games at all, and people are just going to games and going out and support them.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Anthony, you got guys like Mike Patton up in Tennessee that covers the Cats, also covers the Titans. You got guys like Teron Davenport up in Tennessee that covers the Cats as well. Um, it's very similar to minor league baseball, John. I mean, really, it's very nichey. You either know about it and you follow it, and you cover it and you talk about it, or nobody knows about it. I mean, it's just kind of how. I mean, I kind of equate the two. I understand minor league is set up to go to the major leagues. I get that, but let's be honest, there's guys that live in the minor leagues. There's guys that never make the show. Happens all the time. Happens every year. I mean, that's why there's a term. You're going to be a career minor leaguer. But look at the pay of those guys now, plus the living stipend, and it's not that bad. It's okay to be a career minor leaguer. But no, man, the Arena Football League is fun. I enjoy it. Man, he's good, dude. Anthony Carter, guys, if you don't follow Anthony Carter, you've got to do it. If you didn't know anything going on with the Philadelphia Soul earlier, you probably know, or somebody else that reported it probably knows because of Anthony Carter. Man, way to just get out there and get that story, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the long haul, if they can keep that Wichita team, that Southwest Kansas Storm team, I think the Kansas people will definitely support them in the long haul too, because hey, Kansas loves their college sports as well as much as anybody in the state of Kansas. But yeah, looking at the Orlando Predators, they're 1-2, and they're still in the league, so they're good to see them back in the league, and Orlando Predators are probably playing where the Magic play, so that's a good thing to have down in Orlando right now, because there's no UCF stuff going on right now other than they had softball going on. But yeah, so there's some interesting teams still out there that we're familiar with, and I think down the road, you'll see more teams get their attendance back up, because I think the Kansas teams will get their fans in there, especially in Wichita. If Wichita can support college basketball, they can support arena football, right?
I mean, they support their hometown Shockers. I
Yeah,
mean, and that's not a shot at Wichita State at all. I mean, I'm being serious when I say that. Like, they support their local. They support Kansas. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they that if there's any program in the country that has proved that when you win, they will come, it's Kansas Jayhawks.
right.
There's no other football program in the country that has proved that more than Kansas. Period. No doubt. Leopold has been amazing for that program. That's a whole that's a show coming up though. That's a definite show coming up. I cannot wait to start diving into college football, man. It's right around the corner.
We'll probably
Oh, it's
start.
right around the corner. 3
Yeah,
months, buddy.
hey, we can start like in middle, like end of July, early August, because
And I was thinking start like middle of July. Exactly what I was planning on doing. 1st of July, but really. But yeah, man. No, that's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. There's sports going on everywhere. We're talking about arena football right now. Later on, we're gonna talk college baseball, college softball, PGA Tour, NASCAR. NASCAR got lit last night. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Cherry. Okay.
Man, you ain't kidding, dude. Man, Triple H. I got a special message for you today. Yeah, man. No, yeah, NASCAR got lit last night. All that and more later on today. But man, we're planning on having OB on today. He never jumped in the room. I apologize for the inconvenience. It is. I mean, it happens. It is. There's a thing called life. We get it.
Right.
But no, man, Anthony Carter did an amazing job. And I mean, I plan on talking about a little more Arena Football League coming up, man. He's actually got me excited about the league. I've been doing a little more research. I did see, like I said, I saw the press release. We got that put out on the fish being back. He's flopping around the AFL. Oh, that's funny. No, man. But John, great show today, dude. Great show. And by the way, we appreciate everybody watching and listening right now on YouTube and on the X.
Well, I still call it Twitter, but yeah.
So, John, just as we close up, man, give me your closing thoughts on the AFL.
My closing thoughts: just keep on. Hopefully, everybody can get their hotel rooms paid for. Hopefully, a lot of players can still get paid. I know some players are still probably questioning when they're going to get paid. Just keep. Hopefully, we can keep this thing rolling again, and hopefully see down the road a little bit more expansion. Yeah, that's my final thoughts. Hopefully, the players can still get paid. Jeff Fisher hopefully can get more teams maybe more involved. But like we talked about with Anthony, I think the main thing is the facilities and what you can use and not use as well throughout these other markets as well. But yeah, hopefully players can get paid. Hotels can still get paid. And hopefully somehow they can find out a way to get them on a round trip flight instead of a one-way tickets. And I don't want to see it like I want to see them do like a little bit more marketing, like Anthony had brought up. Hopefully, they can advertise a little bit more on their own social media platforms, whether it's on X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Maybe heck, have a local coach come on their like radio station that's local, for example. You know, that type of stuff. That's the only way you can really promote the Arena Football League more is get them more involved that way because I think you'll see the attendance grow more throughout the year. Hopefully, I know there's only maybe 4 or 5 games left in the regular season, maybe, but definitely in years to come, I just don't want it to fold this quick because I enjoy heck. Nashville's only 3 hours away from me. I can probably make a day out of it and just go to Nashville and enjoy an arena football game and just chill in Nashville for the night or something like that. But I definitely don't want to see it fold after one quick season, to be honest with you.
Agreed. And hey, if you're looking for tickets to an AFL game, concert, whatever, we've got a way for you to do that. Go to SeatGeek. It's our official SeatGetter here at Four Star Sports Media. Go to SeatGeek now, create a login account. When you do, go find you a ticket, $50 or more. Put in that promo code right there on the screen, Four Star Sports Media, all in capital letters. When you do that, you'll save $20 off your first ticket price. And if you don't believe us, do what I just said. Go create an account, find you a ticket, $50 or more, and put that promo code in, and I guarantee you it will work. Guarantee you it will.
And I guarantee you also, you might only have to pay $10 for that ticket in some Major League Baseball games right now as well.
Was just about to say, you can find you a $50 ticket and not have to pay much, for sure. But man, great show. Like I said, guys, go to SeatGeek, go to the app. They have an app. Everybody has apps on their phone. They have an app. Yeah, go to SeatGeek now. Do that. Type in Four Star Sports Media, and we would appreciate it here. But for Wes Pruitt, I am Wes Pruitt. Sorry. For John Sturdivant and myself, Wes Pruitt, we appreciate everybody watching and listening today. We've been talking AFL with Anthony Carter. We'll be back here shortly with more right here on the Sports Buffet on the Four Star Sports Radio Network.